All right, so our last Develop It 8 is going to be due Thursday night of week 17, and I'm recording this right after I've finished grading the submissions for Develop It 7. And it seems like several of you understood what I was trying to make sure you got the heads up about regarding the deliverables, but some of you still have some work to do. And I get it that this is by far the hardest part of this class, which is translating what we've been exposed to and what you've studied into an actual skill. So if you're struggling in this area, it's very, very normal. It's very, very normal because we are asking you to take quite a leap and first developing something that has meaningful user capture, and it has meaningful user response, and it is invalidated, well documented, and has to function. So these are not simple things to accomplish for anyone, and especially for those of you that I'm guessing have had just this class as an exposure to JavaScript. So if you're struggling, it's perfectly normal. It doesn't feel good, but it's perfectly normal. And the thing I would say, this has been something I've been trying to figure out, because I've offered it up. I have one fairly consistent student come see me, which is awesome. But I would have hoped to have seen more of you in my office to discuss it. But, that's also the choice that you have. So I have to definitely respect that as well. So here we are at our last Develop It, and in a second I'll turn to the calendar and we'll just go over what I had offered up before so that you are clear about what you can do. As far as I'm going to keep Canvas the way it is right now, where it shows the Develop It will be due, the last one will be due this Thursday, but I'm going to give you until next Wednesday. And really I'll grade Thursday morning, but it'll need to have been complete and submitted by next Thursday night or Wednesday night at midnight, but really Thursday morning because that's when I'll finish up. So we'll look at that. But what I'd like to say is what I expect to see on your submission is, if you look at Jeff's work, Jeff has done, and Robert this week did a great job also of showing his progress. Like, here's the things I accomplished, here's what I know I'm still working on. And so it makes grading this stuff much easier because then I know what to look for. But my process now, and has been for the last couple, is I look at the code that you committed, I look at the code itself, I look at the functionality, and then I look at your write-up. And so all those things go into basing my grade on. And yeah, I am grading more. My grades, you see a difference in the grading for these last Develop It's because you really need to have hit those deliverables, right? So, but I will allow everyone, and let me just say this, and I had said it before, but now I want to say it the most clear, is on the Develop It 6, 7, and 8, the last three. If you on this last one, number 8, get all of the requirements done, I am willing to go back and review your grade for these 6 and 7. As well. So, but I want to see that in your write-up, right? I want to make sure you understand, where you're at, right? Because your write-up helps me navigate your code. And of course, documentation is the best way to do that. So, hopefully that is a little more clear. Look at Robert's and Jeff's as good examples of what you want to do for Develop It 8. Just because I've given you a week doesn't mean you have to take it. You could submit it early. I could grade it, and you could actually have still a little more time even after I grade it for you to change anything that needs to be updated there. Okay, So just to be clear, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to, I'm not going to cover my code mostly because I want to focus just on the deliverables because I feel like that's kind of what got off track in Develop at 6. I tried to correct and develop at 7 and I'm really correcting it now, okay? Because as I said before, I got very focused on getting my own development done, which is I use as an example, right? For those of you attempting to do Firebase, but also just showing you the functionality that that needs to be in your output, right? So it needs to be able to function the way I was demonstrating to show you those things. So let's turn to it and take a look. Okay, so in our class, of course, here is what I was talking about, right? So I've finished grading all the work submitted, and all you have left is this, right? So to be clear, let's go to the calendar real quick and just take a look as far as making sure you submit correctly. Let me change the course here. So we're only looking at our class. So here we are. So what I'm saying is you have until Wednesday night, and I always give a midnight due date, but just know, and I think some of you figure this out, is that I really get up that next morning and grade. So as long as it's there, that's what I'll look at. But if you're trying to submit code anytime during the 14th, that will not be reviewed because I'll pull your code first thing in the morning and that's what I will grade. Okay. So this date, Wednesday, December 13th at midnight will also be the date if you want to do any past work. I do accept late work discounted 25%, so you're welcome to do that. Okay, so on this last one, and again this is a repeat, but on this Develop at 8, if you're able to accomplish the major requirements, I will go back and review. And by the way, you need to tell me this. You need to actually say please review on your write-up, right? My Develop at 6 and 7 as well, right? Because really when we look back, and let's just go ahead and jump into this item here. Let me go here, right? Develop at 8. Right, so when I look at this Develop at 8, right, your program should gather and validate user input, respond in some meaningful way, and I know many of you this is one of the sticking points, of course, is actually not just gathering that form submission, but then responding to it. Must be written in the module method, module object method of the coffee run. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. You need to have implemented something beyond or different than the functionality of the coffee run. If you're just taking the coffee run functionality and making it a different type of data capture but using the same functionality, you do see a decrease in points in that, so just know that that's the case, and that it must be responsive and mobile ready, and it must be functional. It must actually work and be well documented. Okay, so if when you get here you have hit all these notes on your output, I will be open to reviewing and upgrading your scores for those last items. And so if there's any questions about that, right, it'd be a great time to ask me right now instead of waiting until next week. So I'll go ahead and place this video up there. But again, look at the two folks I said, which is Jeff and Robert, for good examples of what to do in your submission write-up, right? The more you tell us about how you did, and actually read Jeff specifically, because Jeff actually went further than I had anticipated, which is looking at some of those crossed origins, some scripting errors that can happen when you're submitting in possible security issues in there. So those are good to look at. The last thing I'll leave you with today is that it looks like CIT 8094 for next semester is getting close to what we need for it to go. So, as you know, the more you can help by talking to people that you know that'd be interested in taking that class, please do. That would be great. And again, that's a face to face class. You will have to show up in the classroom. We'll talk about that first week, how it looks on an ongoing basis, but it will be a class you'll need to show up to. Okay, I think that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.